If you want superhuman gains in your blues playing, you need to add these 5 things to your practice routine. And how do you do it? Just hang out to find out. Thing number 1, we're going to go for a fun thing, and that is repetitive licks. You must have some repetitive licks in your playing that you can just chuck out because they sound really good. You can do them quite quickly. So I'm just going to give you one really cool repetitive lick. There's another one on my Patreon page, and then I'm going to tell you how to get it up to speed. This is the lick. So this is based around just 2 patterns, right? It's this. Pattern 1 and pattern 2 is. So I'm hammering on from 5 to 8 on the low E string, right, with a downstroke. Downstroke on the A string 5th fret. Then I'm doing a hammer on from nowhere onto the 8th fret of the E string. So I've got, that's pattern 1. Then pattern 2 is just 5, hammer on 8, A string 5, hammer on 7. So you've got all downstrokes. Then you just do the same on the A and the D string. And then carry on. Right, and that's it. Right. Now you could do it here. Do it up a pair of strings like that. You can do it all over the place in all the pentatonic positions. It's a great one to just chuck out, and particularly putting it at the end of a solo sounds really cool because it's that little flurry at the end. Now, how do you get it to speed? Firstly, you've got to get 3 things wired. You've got to get the mechanics wired. This is the 3 M's. Okay, yeah, thank you, Big Jim. So the mechanics are, how do we pick it? Which fingers do we use? Get that all totally wired. Now, once you've got that wired, you've got to memorize it. This is really easy to memorize because it's very short. Then put it to a metronome. So get a click, 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 click. So I'm using my foot, but use a metronome, right? And just do it at a speed where you can do it perfectly. Stick at that speed for a while and then gradually raise it. This is the way to get good. This is what a lot of pros do that other people don't realize. It's just doing it repetitively at a speed that's very close to your maximum over and over again, and then gradually raising that speed. So just follow those 3 M's. I do expand on all these concepts on the Patreon page. Loads of great stuff on there. Over 100 videos. Only a cup of coffee a month. Got to be worth checking out. Lots of people signing up at the moment. Okay, practice thing number 2 is to play over all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. We're going to use A minor again. We're over an A blues backing track, right? And we're going to start off on position 5. Because position 5 is the first one that doesn't involve the open strings. Now, rather than just play them up and down, which is a bit dull, we're going to make it a little bit musical. But I'm still effectively just going to play them like this, right? So I'm going to do that and then talk you through it. So all I'm doing there is I'm playing the scale, but I'm changing the rhythm. It almost sounds like I'm not playing the scale. Might change the order of the notes a little bit. Like on position 3, I think I went something like a little bit. Yeah, but largely I'm just going up and down the scales. Now then, top tip, if you always go that way, change the order because you'll get used to doing it one way, okay? Keep giving your brain new information all the time. Thing number 3 is to be able to find dominant 7th chords everywhere. This is really important to get this into your practice routine. Now, most people, when they think of an A dominant 7th chord, will think of that one, yeah? Now, when I see this one, I'm seeing a load of other possibilities around it. One thing I'm doing is I'm making this a bit smaller. So instead of doing that, I'm doing that. It's coming out of that chord, yeah? Jazzers will do this. Then maybe go a semitone below, okay? I'm also seeing these little triads around here. And when I'm seeing this triad, I'm then going to extend that a little bit by going root 3, flat 7. I get this one. You can see these on your screen now, but there's a load more on the Patreon channel, okay? So I'm trying to exhaust all the possibilities there. I'm not going silly. I'm not doing 13th chords or 9th chords yet. I'm just doing dominant 7th chords. Now, once I've exhausted that area, right, and I'm kind of doing this on the fly a little bit some of the time, you know, I'm thinking this stuff as I'm playing it almost. I'm seeing that. I'm going up to the next area. I'm seeing this A note here. And I know there's an A7 chord there. Then I might, instead of doing that, I'm going to take the root note there, go down to the 5 and see the 3 there. So I've got another A chord. Then I might think, well, how do I make that a flat 7? Okay, I need to add the G in, don't I? Let's do this instead. Right, and you can see that's almost an extension of that. Yeah? And I might add in the 5th. I love that little chord, it's cool. Then I might see this. That's got a 9 in it. I cheated a little bit there. A7 chord there, yeah? So I'm seeing that area. So I'm just exploring the areas, trying to find particularly those roots, thirds, and flat 7ths, just to create these dominant 7th chords. It's a great exercise. Thing number 4 in your practice routine is to find thirds, right? So I'm going to play over that backing track again, but I'm just going to go nuts on the thirds, on the A7, the D7, and the E7. So here's a third on the, I'm targeting that. Third. Third. Third of the D. Third of the A. Okay, now I'm going to go third of the E. Third of the D. Third of the A. Okay? So I'm really thinking about the thirds and trying to land on the third on beat 1 of each chord, and that ties me into the chord very strongly and makes you know that I'm playing the chord progression in my lead playing, right? Now, how do I see these thirds all over the place? A lot of the time I'm just seeing chords, and I know that third is there, okay? If the root's there, I know the distance there is a third away, right? I see tone, tone, so I'm just targeting that. So I might go, right? Now, when I'm on this one, I'm thinking, right, oh, there's an A there. Look, I've got this little chord. So I go. And then I'm seeing this D chord. I'm seeing the third of that. So one thing kind of merges into the other thing. But you've got to practice this stuff. It takes time. But it's very cool. And the final thing is to solo over a 12 bar, but have the backing track in your head. It's a bit like putting some of this stuff together in your head. And this is a very cool thing to be able to do. So the first thing you do is you've got to get the groove going, right? So in your head, you'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's really important. And then come in with a third. So I might go 1, 2, 3, 4. A. E, D, right? So it's very clear there which chords I'm playing over. And how am I doing that? A lot of the time I'm thinking of like roots and threes again, yeah? But doing it on your own like that, it's a really strong thing to do. And you can spend a lifetime doing this, just working this stuff out. It's so much fun to play. Do it in that area, do it in that area, do it in that area, do it in different areas of the neck, yeah? And just keep doing it and doing it, doing it. But make sure that your brain is fast enough to keep up with the chord changes. If it isn't, work on one chord at a time, slow the whole thing down, and above all else, be disciplined with this stuff. So there you've got 5 really cool things to stick into your practice routine that are really going to supercharge your blues playing. Like and subscribe as always. Catch you next time.